Everything is about to change. A recent Rangers pick with top 6 potential is making serious noise this offseason. There are also a few names to watch on the current roster as they continue making strides this summer. I break it down here in just a moment on another sizzling edition of Rangers Digest. Welcome back to Rangers Digest. We are built for blue shirt fandom, and I'm your host, Bret Botfeld. It is great to be back with you guys on this glorious Thursday, the 31st of July, and we got a lot to get into here today, folks. But before we do that, a quick reminder that about 77% of you who currently watch these videos are still unsubscribed to the channel. So please hit that free subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. Not only that, guys, so you can be part of something special here at Rangers Digest. Let's waste no more time and hop right into today's video. So I was reading an article yesterday written by Jim Cerny from ForeverBlueShirts.com. They do a fantastic job over there, and the headline of this article was Rangers top draft pick Malcolm Spence earns praise at the World Junior Summer Showcase. Malcolm Spence will play his first game for Canada at the 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase on Wednesday, but the New York Rangers top pick from this year's NHL draft has already made a solid first impression. Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff listed Spence as a top standout from Canada's intra-squad game Tuesday. Spence played left wing on the second line for Canada White, which defeated Canada Red 4-3 in a shootout. So Malcolm Spence, it is certainly refreshing and great to see that he is being recognized as a top standout, as a player to watch during this summer showcase. This is a player that was drafted early in the second round by the Rangers. Let's not forget their first round pick, 12th overall, went to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Rangers drafted a player in Spence at 43rd overall that many scouts considered at one point to be a first round pick. So the Rangers got a first round talent early in the second round, and the Rangers have actually done a nice job at identifying talent. Now it's just up to them to develop these players. But like I said, certainly refreshing to see Spence making an impact here this summer. Now I want to get into a quote from Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff, and we're going to get into it right now. Though Malcolm Spence didn't score, Spence was one of the more energetic forwards for Canada White. I loved how hard he chased after Red's top players and didn't seem to care that it was an intra-squad game. Spence has never been the most skilled or offensive player, but he never takes a shift off and is always trying to make things happen. Guys, this is great. This is also refreshing to see because Malcolm Spence is going hard in an intra-squad game when we saw Rangers players this past season making millions and millions and millions of dollars, a lot more money than you or I will ever see in our lifetime. And they were simply just not giving the effort that is required on a night-to-night basis. I've said it here on the channel so many times till I'm blue in the face that you don't go from being 2 wins away from a Stanley Cup final to 13th in the Eastern Conference the next year without a lack of effort, without things going terribly wrong and awry. We know there were tons of drama with the Rangers this past season. They had a lot of the same players, a lot of the same stars, the same coach. But like I said, that tenacity, that snarl, it just wasn't there. There was a lack of effort. It was so apparent. You can see it. And it really sucks because fans like you, myself, would spend their hard-earned money to go to the world's most famous arena and watch this team, and they didn't give that effort in return. The same effort that we put in to go to those games, they did not show it in return. So it is certainly refreshing to see a player like Spence, who hasn't really earned a dime yet, scratching and clawing, trying to get onto this Rangers roster in a few years. He'll be a freshman at the University of Michigan this year. But like I said, this is a positive to see from Malcolm Spence. Now I want to get into more attributes and the statistics when it comes to Spence. Alright guys, that tenacity, that focus, and willingness to play a 200-foot game are among the reasons that the Rangers selected Spence in the second round, number 43 overall, of the 2025 draft. It didn't hurt that the 18-year-old forward, who stands 6'1" and weighs a solid 203 pounds, scored 32 goals and had 73 points in 65 games with Erie of the OHL last season either. Alright guys, as you can see right here, he is 18 years old, just 18 years old, a baby. He stands 6'1", weighs 203 pounds. This is extremely encouraging, guys, because it looks like he's already filling in to his NHL ready body at such a young age, and I believe that's only going to improve, throughout his collegiate career and as he turns pro, as he continues hitting the weight room and really focusing on his diet. But it is great to see that his body is really filling into form here. You can see that he scored 32 goals, had a total of 73 points in 65 games with Erie this past season, over 1 point per game player. This is a two-way forward. He's got top 6 upside, like I said, but I believe you could plug him in immediately in about 3 years from now as a middle 6 type of forward. He's going to give you that reliability, usually in good position in the O zone and the D zone. What else is interesting here when it comes to Spence is he has the talent, he's got the body, but he also has leadership quality, guys. Leadership qualities, which is really key for Mike Sullivan and this Rangers team moving forward. Like I said, a team that lacked leadership this past season. Spence served as the alternate captain with the Erie Otters for 2 years. Not only that, he was teammates with a current Ranger, Carey Terrence, who the Rangers acquired in that Chris Kreider deal from the Anaheim Ducks. Not only that, but he was teammates with Matthew Schaefer as well, who was drafted first overall by the Islanders this draft. And there were certainly some interesting storylines developing. Let's not forget, when Schaefer was drafted by the Islanders, he said that he's going to embrace that rivalry between the Islanders and the Rangers. Not only that, but he wants to stick it to the Rangers and take it to them every single time when he faces off against them. So like I said, some interesting storylines developing to increase that rivalry that already exists between the Islanders and the Rangers. But like I said, I believe Spence and Schaefer will be going at it for years to come, because Spence has a real future on this Rangers team. And like I said, he's got that top 6 potential. So what are the chances that Spence lands a spot on Canada's roster for the 2026 World Junior Championship, which will be played in Minneapolis, St. Paul, beginning in late December? This is another quote from Ellis. Spence could make it as a 4th liner unless the team elects to take more skilled players instead, Ellis said. But Spence feels like a player built for this team. Guys, not only does he feel like a player built for Canada's team, but he feels like a player that is built for the Blue Shirts. Like I said, he's got that top 6 potential. He's got the leadership qualities. He's got that solid two-way ability, big body, strong, physical, plays with that type of speed and snarl that you like to see, that tenacity, that grit, the grit and grind type of mindset. But now let's get into a couple players that are already on this Rangers roster that really need to step up this season. Because I spoke about it yesterday, Igor needs to bounce back, return to Vezina-type form for the Rangers to return to the promised land. But there are some current Rangers who have shown some good signs this summer as well, and really need to continue that into this season. And let's get into it right now, guys. All right, Bret Botfeld and Matt Rempe. This comes from Vince Mercogliano. Bret Botfeld and Matt Rempe both look noticeably thicker, with Botfeld noting he's put on extra muscle this summer. They're training at Prentice Hockey Performance here in Stamford with Chris Kreider, Jonathan Quick, and a bunch of NHL guys. They both talked about how much that's pushed them. It's all competitive, Rempe said. We all want to put up the best numbers. I want to be the best in the gym. It's a lot of fun. You've got Quickie in there. He's 40. and still slinging weights around. It's unreal. All right, guys, as you can see here, Bret Botfeld was obviously dealing with that shoulder injury basically the entire season. He played well in the 35 games he was here for the Rangers, but he was playing through injury, which was kind of silly because we saw Schneider do the same thing and it only got worse. But, Bret Botfeld, I get it. He wants to, stay on the roster and make a name for himself, but hopefully he's going to be fully healthy this season. He's getting stronger, and I really like the potential there when it comes to Bret Botfeld. Matt Rempe also looking noticeably thicker. I mean, I didn't think he could get any bigger than he already was. He's already a giant out there. That's great to see. And as you can see, Jonathan Quick also putting in the work. I've said it here on the channel, I believe in my last video talking about Igor, that not only was Igor great during the 2023-24 season when the Rangers won the President's Trophy, but Quickie was awesome backing up Igor. There were some nights where he would play and there wasn't even much of a drop-off. That's just how damn dominant Quick was. And it's great that they're training with Quick because he's a Stanley Cup champion in his own right, 40 years old, still training hard. And something else that's cool to see is that the Rangers are still keeping their relationship with Chris Kreider, training with him. You can see some Rangers respect Kreider and what he brings to the table. So that's certainly cool to see. And if we look at the lineup, Berard's going to be important on that third line. The bottom six has really eluded the Rangers and been a Achilles heel these past few years. But, I like Berard playing a full healthy season at third left wing. Not only that, Matt Rempe will be crucial on that fourth line. That fourth line, at some moments, at some points last season, was their best line, single-handedly winning games for them. That identity fourth line that you need. Just a hard-hitting type of line. And Jonathan Quick, he's the main backup behind Shesterkin. So the Rangers are going to need him to put up some type of production like he did just a few years ago. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you think Malcolm Spence is going to make an immediate impact when he reaches the NHL with the Rangers? Or do you think the Rangers are going to continue drafting the right type of talent, the right type of players, but failing to execute in developing them? Leave your comments down below. Give us a follow on X as well at Rangers Digest YT because the conversation continues over there. And if you haven't hit that free subscribe button, hit that button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.